This is the beginning of our looking at this wonderful Doha song by Virupa. And it's very nice to be back doing this kind of teaching again. Last year, I had the treatment for prostate cancer. And gradually, I feel a bit better. But many medical people remind me to take more exercise. So yesterday evening, I set off to go for a good walk. But after 200 meters, my right knee collapsed. The Revolutionary Liberation Party of the right knee has struck for freedom. They say for so many years, you say, do this, do that, stand up, sit down. Now we decide. Again, reminding me that it's not my body. I'm not the boss. The interplay of the 5 elements in the environment, in our food, in our body, this is ever shifting cross currents of patterning. In the past, I've often used the example of sand castles on the beach at the edge of the sea. A sudden big wave can do a lot of damage. And as we get older, or certainly as I get older, the waves get bigger and more of me washes away. All that we think we are is simply an idea. All the different levels of Dharma teaching point to the fact that there is no inherent existence in people or in phenomena. Inside ourselves, we don't have some solid basis to stand on that we can start fighting the world and defending ourselves. We are movement in a world of movement. Moment by moment, breathe in, breathe out. Constituents of the world come into our body, constituents of our body go out into the world. This is just how it is. Oh, we have the time now until we die to do some Dharma. This is our choice, whether we do Dharma or not. You can do Dharma in the manner of a stone. That is to say, you can seemingly be immersed in the ocean of Dharma, but inside you don't get wet. That's why the texts say again and again, devotion is very important. With devotion, we shift the porosity of our ego skin and allow more contact with the vitality of our presence. Traditionally, we begin by taking refuge. We can take refuge in external people, in the teachings, in the inspiration of the Buddha. But all these formations are beliefs and thoughts arising in our mind. While they are passing through us, they seem to be the true orientation of our life. But the thoughts pass, life goes on, we're all quite busy. And so although we may wish to be immersed in Dharma, actually we're immersed in daily concerns. There are so many responsibilities and duties that we have. This is why the study of Mahamudra and Dzogchen are very important. Again and again, they say, turn inwards, find the true refuge, which is the actuality of your own mind, how it is in itself, free of thought. I won't say very much about the singer of this song or the author of this text, the Mahasiddha, the great yogi Virupa. If you go on the internet, you can find translations of the hagiographies, the spiritual biographies of him. And his story has many similarities with the stories of other yogis like Padmasambhava. In these accounts, there are many magical deeds which are performed. Virupa parts the waters in the river Ganges like Moses parting the Red Sea. Virupa goes into a wine shop and says to the lady, I'll pay you when the sun sets. And he manages to fix, by pointing, he fixes the sun in the sky and keeps drinking for 3 days and exhausts all the wine in the area. This is also a story that we find in the biography of Padmasambhava. In a sense, these are tropes, they are sort of storylines. Point out that you, by strong practice, you can develop siddhis. Siddhi means a kind of a magical power which ripens and manifests through intense meditation practice. On an outer level, it means the yogi is the master of the situation. Although many difficulties arise on the various adventures he has traversing India, he doesn't go under the power of the other. He is able to strongly influence events so that his clarity and his Dharma intention is unimpeded. And of course, we have to remember in those days, there was no police force. There was no rule of law. Each local king could decide his own way of regulating the kingdom. At our time, in our kinds of culture, magical powers are perhaps not so important. The orientation of the powerful yogi that we find in Tantra perhaps doesn't speak to our particular time. Perhaps for us, the middle way is more important. Neither controlling other people nor being controlled by other people. Neither dominating nor dominated. Now, traditionally in Tibet, if you wanted to adopt this as your path, you could go into the wilderness, go into a cave and live very, very quietly. For us, this is usually not possible. So we need to find the middle way which operates in the middle of the very rapid interactions which are the field of our existence. Early in the story of Virupa, he is ordained as a monk, and he is in the monastery of Nalanda. And he has very quick mind, and gradually he's promoted until he's the abbot of Nalanda, which is the biggest Buddhist monastery that has ever existed. In the day, he performs his duties. And at night, he does the tantric practice of chakra samvara. He does this for many, many years. Some texts say for 40 years. But he has no success. So in despair, he takes off his special tantric ornaments and takes his mala and throws it into the open latrine toilet. And that very evening, he has a dream in which the goddess Naratma, no ego, comes and speaks to him and says, I am the one you should be worshipping. Go and take your mala and clean it and continue your practice, but focus on me. This has similarities to the story of Asanga, who for many, many years practiced with great devotion to the Buddha of the future, Maitreya, wanting to see him, to receive his blessing directly. But after some time, he despaired and he said, oh, this is hopeless, I'm going home. And he sees various events which impact him. He sees a man rubbing a piece of iron with some cotton. And he asks him, what are you doing? He says, you see, I have this tear in my clothes. I need to make a needle so I can repair them. Oh, Asanga thinks, wow, so much patience. I'm going back to the cave. I'm going to try. But again, after many years, he feels no success and he sets off home. And he follows the path going up a hill. There at the top, there is a man brushing the small stones and the dust. He says, oh, friend, what are you doing? And the man says, see down there, that's my house. And every day, early in the afternoon, the sun goes behind this hill and my house is in the shadow and it gets very cold. So I'm going to make this hill go right down by brushing it away. So seeing this, Asanga thinks, oh, how much patience he has, how little patience I have. And he goes back to his cave and continues practicing. There are different lessons we can take from these stories. And maybe an important one is that moments of despair will definitely come on the path. We try our best, but it seems our best is not good enough. We had felt fully in Dharma, fully committed doing the practice, but then somehow we do it less intensely and then less frequently, and it seems to drift away. Now, in these two examples, the turning point doesn't come because these yogis remember their vows. They don't think, oh, but I promised, therefore I have to, and they push through. Rather, it's on the point where they stop pushing, they stop being the agent, the one who is doing it, the master of their own fate. When this collapses, then something new and fresh breaks through. And I would suggest that we can take some encouragement from this. Because if we feel that we're not getting anywhere with the practice, we go for a walk. We see people, adults who are in a wheelchair, whose possibilities of engagement in the world are diminished. We can see dogs limping because they've got a hurt foot. We see people walking with a white stick because their eyes power is going down. If our heart connects with our eyes, we will see many things in the world that will touch us. And when we feel some empathy, some feeling of sadness or a wish to help in relation to those who suffer, then this can bring us to a fine-tuned Dharma sensibility, which connects the openness of our mind with the complexity of the field within which we live. Just as we breathe in and we breathe out, we receive and then we offer out this air. So what is required is the balance between these two pulsations, between receiving, being touched by events, and the capacity to respond. So for our time, it may well be that the heroic orientation of Dharma as it has been practiced in the past is not so helpful. Perhaps this is more the time where we need to collaborate, because the place of the hero easily gets perverted in this time of dictators and the will to power. How shall we receive? Our ego self gives us a clear sense of what I like and what I don't like. Our ego self is a small pot. You can't put much in it. This is why we aim to open ourselves to the intrinsic purity of our mind, this openness, which is never contaminated by anything which occurs. This is called the Dharmakaya. the way of being fully immersed in Dharma. The word Dharma has several meanings. It means phenomena. It also means kind of truth or how it is. Our Dharmakaya mind has no substance to it. It is the presence of emptiness. It is awareness and emptiness. This is an infinite pot. We can receive everything. And this is the topic of this text that we are going to look at. Because everything which occurs is allowed to manifest as it is, not edited, not controlled, but just as it is, then the fresh contouring of each moment of experience shows itself. It's just simple. The Queen of England, who died recently, traveled around the world, went to many different places, but all that she saw was the Queen's effect. The Queen is coming, we must plant some flowers, we must whitewash the house, we must make new clothes for the children. So her very power condemned her to a world of artifice. She was like a superstar in the theater, and the whole play turns around her. But every ego tries to enact a similar perversion. We highlight, we make foreground the things that interest us, and we put into the background the things which are not for us. We control, shape, edit our experience. We want to have life on our terms. And so we are engaged in this selectivity, whether we are conscious of it or not. If you always have a cup of coffee first thing in the morning, you're just drinking your coffee. The idea that you're choosing coffee and not tea and not orange juice isn't a big decision. I just drink coffee. Your habituation to a particular way of being in the world normalizes a specific pattern which has been chosen. And so when we start to do the practice, we come to encounter more and more how artificial and manipulative we are, uncovering the way in which the patterns of our mind operate can be a painful process. So it's very important that we investigate in a calm, simple way. Blaming ourselves brings little benefit. Blaming others brings even less benefit. Our task is to see how it is if we don't interfere with it. Of course, we have enormous creative power. Advertising, public relations, these are huge industries where a lot of very intelligent people are putting a particular twist or turn on the presentation of a story. For example, the loyalty of the board of directors of the petroleum companies, their loyalty to their shareholders has caused them to put a very definite spin on the facts of the consequences of their production of oil. These organizations face the same kind of crossroads as we do. Shall we follow the path of truth or the path of self-interest? If we bend the truth, we can convince people of the importance of petroleum and that every family should have a car and have the freedom of the car and a wonderful opportunity for self-expression. live life on your own terms. On the British television, the adverts for cars usually have people driving off into a very beautiful but empty countryside where they alone will park on the beach and have a picnic. We want to have happy stories around us. Novels, films, theater often are providing entertainment, a holiday from our ordinary existence. But these are short holidays. They are time out, time apart. And then you come back to just the tedium and struggle of bringing up children, getting to work on time, paying your taxes, and so on. Having a holiday from something you have to return to is not a great holiday. But in this text on Mahamudra, Virupa is showing us how to have holiday from the very nature of problems. Problems arise because we misperceive what is occurring. We do this, but we don't do it because we are somehow inherently bad. We do it because we don't see. If we see how it is, the simplicity of this immediacy is actually quite satisfying. It is fresh, like biting into a crisp apple. When I was in India, I was very often amazed watching people putting some masala onto their slices of apple or slices of cucumber. It was as if, unless we add something kind of spicy to add a familiar flavor, we don't want to eat it. The tongue has become normalized to a little bit of chili, some garam masala, and so on. And so that is the flavor I want to have everywhere. This is also how we live. We have our little packet of ego spice, and we sprinkle it on the experiences of our life. Oh, this tastes right. This is, I like this taste. I have it every day. I'm tasting my own production. And with this, I don't escape from the kind of gravitational pull of my own sense of who I am and what is normal. This is our problem. The problem is we don't see the problem. We sustain the problem, but we are not the originatory causes of the problem. Our problem essentially is that we don't understand our mind. This is not the topic that you will find in a school or even in a university. If you're studying neuroscience, you might think that you're learning a lot about the mind. You're certainly learning a lot about theories of how thoughts arise, feelings, and so on. You're learning about something. That is to say, you're developing a conceptual and theoretical overview of how it is. And this is just another room in this endless palace of interpretation. You can learn the interpretations from your childhood, from the movies, from a church. There are many, many interpretations, including Dharma interpretations. I think this. I believe this. But this is not the path of Mahamudra. Now we want to have a direct presence, a direct clarity, lucidity or luminosity in the presence of the moment of emergence. This non-dual immediacy is the great exit from the endless labyrinth of duality. Okay, so we can turn to the text. It's been translated into the various languages that we have, so you should be able to get a copy of it. if you can't find it now, then when we have a break in 35 minutes, then you can look for it. So the Sanskrit title of the text is the Doha Koshanama, meaning the name of this is the treasury of dohas, which are songs. Dohas are songs of experience, of non-dual experience. They're not like the ego's songs of experience, like Walt Whitman in America. They are the experience or the direct revelation of how it is when the thusness, the how it isness of life is not mediated through the duality of subject and object. And it's a treasury because such pithy, precise teachings are like a true treasure. They shine like a jewel. They can illuminate your life. Songs like this were often sung by small groups of yogis when they met together. These meetings called Gana Chakra, the wheel or the circle of enjoyment. Gana means what is brought together. This can be food and drink, but primarily what is brought together is people who are dedicated to the practice, coming together to engage with the possibility of meeting a fellow spirit. As many of you will know, practicing Dharma can be quite lonely. Quite possibly no one in your family is interested. None of your friends. Every now and then you might get to go to a retreat and you meet people who have a shared interest, but unfortunately they live dispersed across wide geographical areas. Well, this is the same for the yogis. Mostly they're wandering around, walking on long pilgrimages in India, going through villages where the dogs are barking at them and the people are suspicious. So when they meet together, they're happy to share their appreciation of how it is. And these songs are very interesting. They are an attempt to directly show when people are wanting to learn how to write a novel or a play. One of the guiding instructions is show, don't tell. That is to say, you create a setting within which the particularities of the characters become visible. They are not defined by some voice from nowhere which tells you John is a 30-year-old man who has been struggling to get employment after a mental health crisis. But if the camera can track him going to his front door and then turning back as he feels an anxiety, the difficulty is shown. It doesn't have to be explained, because in that simple showing and we see the expression on the face, we feel something. So in this text, Virupa is there's both showing and telling. He's both explaining, but trying to bring the flavor of how it is through his use of language. Oh, it begins with a homage, where Virupa says, I pay homage or I bow to Sri Vajrasattva. This has many functions. It shows a humility. You are great and I follow you. Also a gratitude. Vajrasattva, you have revealed yourself to previous yogis. I have inherited the tradition. This gift you have given of how to practice your path of liberation is something which I am truly grateful for. how it is, the simplicity of the mind itself cannot be caught by a concept. And yet, because of the intensity and power and complexity of our own habit formations and obscurations, we need to rely on instructions. Oh, just as in the lineage that we have in Dzogchen, where the teaching is manifest in the presence of Samantabhadra or Kunduzambo. This is a state of open presence, naked, unadorned. This is the direct transmission of the Dharmakaya. This transmission comes through Vajrasattva and forms as the symbolic transmission of the Rigzin, the enlightened ones. Usually Vajrasattva is depicted with ornamentation of the necklaces, bracelets, amulets, and so on. This is the Sambhogakaya transmission. The ornaments show a mediated presence into the world. And from Vajrasattva, the transmission goes to Garabdorji, who then transmits it into language. It comes in through the ear. We hear, well, we didn't hear, but his great followers, Manjushri Mitra and so on, they hear this teaching and they get it. But they get it, and it's already a little bit messy because language requires interpretation. If I say I live in London, there are many, many interpretations of London. If I say I'm a man, many interpretations of what it means to be a man. Words, they can seem to carry one clear definition, and you can look it up in the dictionary. But as Wittgenstein warned us, if you want to know the meaning of a word, don't look in the dictionary. Look at how people use that word. How is that word embedded in language? Now, for meditators, this is very important. You can't catch the truth. No definition will take hold of it. You can use the words as a kind of massage to loosen the structure of your conceptual framework. And this will let a little bit more light in. The truth can't be said, but we rely on words. So how should we listen? In a relaxed, flexible, responsive way. The truth can't be said, but it can be alluded to. Examples can be given that bring some flavor of it. Oh, when Virupa is paying homage to Vajrasattva, Vajrasattva is on this cusp or this transition point between the silence of the Dharmakaya and the stream of connectivity that comes in the language of Garabdorji. Aesthetics are very, very important. Aesthetics simply means the way in which patterns of the world can strike us, can touch us. When we hear sounds, when we see colors, whether it's in nature or in an art gallery, when you see famous paintings, they're just there. And there will be hundreds of books about them. There's no end to the interpretation of a painting. But when you look at the painting, it shows. And more specifically, it shows to you in this moment. The moment of the painting, the moment of you, they meet. there is a co-emergence. If you're lucky, you go into the art gallery on a quiet day. You can stand in front of the painting for a minute, for 10 minutes, drinking in through your eyes, allowing the quality of the painting to fill you. On another day, there's a whole bunch of people standing in front of the painting, and you're trying to peer around them to see what it is. And although you can't see it clearly, you're very fortunate because there is somebody standing there, very often a man, determined to explain the painting to his partner. It is about experience, my availability and the availability of the world. I can't control the availability of the world. What I can do is loosen myself of my preoccupations, my habit formations, my strong sense of liking and disliking. Many of you are familiar with this simple practice that we do, the Guru Yoga of the White Ah. We make the sound of Ah slowly 3 times. Through this, we release ourselves from our identification with the familiar, habitual constituents of our sense of self. Just open, empty, available. This is a very direct approach to what we find when we do Vajrasattva practice, which is a slightly less direct approach. In Tantra, our practice is mediated through symbols. So Vajrasattva, which means indestructible being or primordial purity, we imagine him hovering above the crown of our head. And that when we start to recite the mantra with the visualization, we start to imagine this purifying substance, Amrita, flowing out through his foot into the top of our head. It flows through our body and washes out all the negative karma that we have, the accumulations of intensity which have arisen due to our fixation on a particular object, the presence of the 5 poisons, our mental dullness, the opacity by which we assume, we project, we don't see, all the chaos that we have created through our desire and through our aversion and through our pride and jealousy. These 5 poisons also, they are washed out. We imagine all the limitations and the negative qualities vanishing out of our body, exiting from our anus and going down into a crack in the earth to vanish. And in some of the practices, at the end, Vajrasattva says to us, oh, you have done well. Now you are clean. Now you are pure. So then when a limiting thought or feeling arises, oh, that has nothing to do with me. I used to do that, but it doesn't touch my life now. Now I'm vegan. What will I do with a ham sandwich? I used to eat it. I enjoyed it, but now I'm vegan. And this is very important because it's precisely a disidentification. If I identify myself as a meat eater and you offer me the ham sandwich, then my belief in me, it links with the belief in the ham sandwich. But now that I'm taking on the identity, excuse me, of a vegan, the tendrils, the little links of connectivity to the ham sandwich shrivel and die. So when we read this and we also think, I also pay homage to Vajrasattva. Means I pay homage to, and I take refuge in the practice of letting go. I am disidentifying. Then he says, I pay homage to Bhagavati Nairatmaya. She is the goddess, or the goddess of no ego, who spoke to him when he was in despair. She has become his yidam. Yidam means the deity, the god or the goddess that you rely on. You bind your mind to this deity. The deity becomes the presence of your own potential enlightenment. So some of you do is practice to Padmasambhava. We begin by praying to Padmasambhava. You are great. Think of me. Think of me. By reciting the mantra, we are making a bond or a rainbow bridge of devotion and affection. Our devotion reaches out and touches the heart of Padmasambhava. Then, when we stop the first recitation, rays of light come from Padmasambhava into ourselves. White light into our forehead, purifying the limitations of the body. Red light into our throat, purifying the limitations of speech. Blue light into our heart, purifying the limitations of our mind, thoughts, emotions, memories, and so on. This washes out the sense of our having a substantial body, that I am a thing. We see, oh, my body is full of light. My body is light. And then Padmasambhava, whose body is always light, folds into itself from the top, from his head down and his feet up, into a small ball of light, which comes through the top of our head into our heart. We become one fused ball. Our light merges into his light like water pouring into water. And the ball shrinks smaller and smaller and smaller until it's tiny, tiny little ball. And this is the only thing we are in any way conscious of. This tiny ball or tikli, this is the coming together of a subject and object. And as this ball or dot or bubble of light vanishes into emptiness, the object vanishes into emptiness, the subject vanishes into emptiness, and we just rest in open awareness. And then we can start to see, by doing the practice again and again, that what occurs after we emerge from that state of openness is not different from the openness. Thoughts arise as thoughts and emptiness, feelings and emptiness, sounds and emptiness, appearance and emptiness. In this way, the Yidam has returned us to ourselves. We're working with the duality of myself and the deity in order to dissolve duality and open to non-dual experience. Oh, this is the gift that she gives to Virupa, and he's very grateful. I pay homage to you. You are the door to myself. Without you, I couldn't find myself. I would be lost, tumbling in this maelstrom of thoughts and memories and hates and loves. So now we take a break for half an hour and we come back into start the main part of the text. Oh, see you in half an hour. Bye. Okay, so we can continue. So it begins by setting out the structure. It says this song has three parts. The first is the absolute truth Mahamudra, which is how the ground abides. Abides means that it's there by itself, uncaused, it's just there. The ground is the basis of everything. Your own mind is not something separate from the ground. So with this aspect of Mahamudra, we appreciate the true basis of all our experience. We remember that Mahamudra means the great seal or the great gesture. The very name is also giving this sense of something unchanging. Sia Lama explained it to me as meaning that it's like the seal put on a royal document. In Tibet, every Lama had their own carved seal, and they would put it into the ink and then onto the paper. And it meant this is the final word, nothing is to be changed. When it says great, like in Mahamudra or in Mahasandhi, the Sanskrit word for Dzogchen, great indicates emptiness. Emptiness you can't change. You can't find it. It's not a thing. It's not relative. It's not a thing among things that you could approach by comparing and contrasting. This is the aspect of your mind that never changes. So to use an example that some of us are very familiar with, this is like the mirror. Then he says there's also the relative truth Mahamudra, which shows the way. The relative truth is concerned with movement, with the patterns of experience. So when we study together and you read and you practice, this is in relative truth. When you have a thought, I don't understand this, or I need to do more of this, that is relative truth. We could also call it relational truth, because it's describing how I stand in relation to something else. What this means to me, what I could do with this, why I'm troubled by this. And it shows the way, because when we see our own activity in developing these patterns and making them solid and real for ourselves, this shows the way. So when I follow the way of my own habit formations, this is a way that confirms the shape or the patterning of myself, but it hides my true nature from myself. If I follow the path, the absolute path to the truth of myself, I won't have to change any of the outer formations of my life. Many of the patterns of our life continue. We have what we call our personality. But because we are not confirming these as some essential truth about ourselves and investing in with importance, gradually these patterns thin and thin and thin. For example, before I got sick, I bought some bottles of good wine. I didn't drink during the treatment, but following the treatment, I had more tests, and the doctor said, "Oh, your liver is not so healthy. You need to have a life without alcohol." So when I look at this lovely box of wine, this is my past. And gradually, the bridge of connectivity between red wine and James thins and dissolves, I hope. While we have the habit, then of course, if I'm going to cook something nice, drink a glass of red wine. It is normalized. It's incorporated into my sense of self. But now I'm these various factors in my life are giving rise to a new formation of my sense of self. I don't have to renounce it or struggle with it. It's just not for me. If I say, oh, this terrible alcohol has damaged my liver, then it's empowered as a negative force. And I need to avoid going under the power of it. But if we see it as just a potential, a possibility, it could be invested with meaning or not. The potential or the realm of clarity or revelation has no bias inside it. The luminosity or the shining forth or the radiance of our experience, particularly our inner experience, which is not in response to the items in the world, this is just potential. So we have different kinds of clothes. We have clothes we wear in the summertime, and we keep these in a cupboard in the winter. We could wear them. There's nothing wrong with wearing them. But when it's cold, we prefer to wear winter clothing. So when you open the cupboard on a cold day and you see your thin cotton dress or your shorts, oh, they're there, but nothing to do with me today. It's not that they're bad in winter and good in summer. The issue is, do they fit? Are they harmonious with circumstances? So when we see this, we don't have to struggle so much to contain our personal desire of what I would like. We just see it's not fitting. So the immediacy of the inseparability of the two truths is the fact that the unborn openness, which, as I said, was like the mirror, and this relative truth of patterning, which is like the reflections in the mirror, these two belong together. If this is not, excuse me, if this is not so clear for you, if you have a copy of this book, Simply Being, chapter 7 is about the two truths, and it's written by Pato Rinpoche in a very straightforward manner. So the first part is presenting how the absolute is. This is like the kind of pointing out instructions that you get in Dzogchen. He's going to show us the aspect of ourselves which we don't recognize in our ordinary coming and going in the world. He's not going to give us a philosophy lesson. He's saying, this is how it is. This is how you are. So see how, looking through the lens of his presentation, you start to see that your assumptions about yourself are very limiting. So he begins, wondrous. Emaho, this is something incredible. Like a child running into the house and saying, oh, you won't believe what I just saw. This is unusual, and yet it's always the case. So then he says, Mahamudra, the equality of Samsara and Nirvana, is inherently unborn and completely pure like space. So Samsara, revolving, going through the 6 realms of experience, living a life within the view of duality. This is the realm of suffering. Nirvana is beyond suffering. It is freedom, liberation. Normally we think limitation is bad, liberation is good. We, the we, the ego self, are ceaselessly attributing specific values to everything that we encounter. Here he's saying limitation, entrapment, suffering, and liberation, freedom, no suffering, the ending of suffering, they are equal. They have equality because they are interpretations. They are movements of the mind, reflections. Mahamudra is like the mirror. For the mirror, there is no difference between beautiful reflections and ugly reflections. But when we don't awaken to that, from the position of being someone living in the world, someone with vulnerabilities, with hopes and fears, then it's not equal. Winning is not the same as losing. So we have a structure, nobody likes to lose. But in so many arenas of life, whether it's football or singing competitions, there's one team or one person who wins and all the rest lose. So hopefully with this, you start to see the tricky and dangerous shadow side to all polarities. So you could imagine, oh, yes, you can win or you can lose. That looks like on a flat, open field. But the ego sets up this vertical axis. Winning is better than losing. They seem now to be in opposition and essentially different. When the ugly image arises in the mirror is not damaged. When the beautiful image arises in the mirror, there is no advantage or gain. But the ego can't see this. So Mahamudra is the pure original nature of your own mind, free of the bias of the prejudicial participation that the ego has in its world. Sometimes we look back in life and we remember some love affair from the past and think, what was that all about? What was I doing? How come for me that person was shining and then, the shine vanished? That person was my mind. You are so beautiful. This is an opinion. For 1 year, you say it every day. Second year, you're not saying it so much. Third year, you couldn't imagine saying it. The person is just the person. You never actually saw the person as they were. You projected onto them, you interpreted them, you incorporated them into your own mental matrix. So this is the relative world. in terms of the absolute, he says, it is inherently unborn and completely pure like space. So inherently unborn means it has not been born and it could not be born. It is intrinsically pervaded by unbornness. So when something is born, whether it's a cow or a dog or a person, they exit their mother's body. And we take them to be a separate entity. Someone dependent on the mother, but apart from the mother. They are a thing among things. And then the relativizing comments come, looks very healthy. Oh, I don't think this calf will live very long. So unborn indicates not separated. And because it's not separated, whatever is said about it or thought about it can't fix onto it. This doesn't mean that there is only a blank mirror. When the wave arises from the sea, it has exactly the same nature as the sea. The water of the sea shows this form. And because we have a concept of wave, we seem to be able to apprehend a shape which is somehow different. Oh, look at that wave, it's so big. That's our concept. The wave is the sea. It's not other than the sea. The wave is unborn, but when we say, wow, what a special big wave, we become like a crazy midwife tearing this unripe baby out from the mother. The wave is the sea. So when he's saying this Mahamudra is completely pure like space, it means even if differentiations appear, these are not marking some essential separation. Although every wave has the same taste as the water of the ocean, we don't need to come to a conclusion that homogenizes, oh, it's all just water. Because there is the diversity of the form of the waves. But even in these specific formations which are arising, because the wave and the sea are identical in being water, the seeming difference of wave and water is illusory. Water cannot contaminate water. But the shape of the wave makes it look like a difference. If I pour my coffee into a bowl of water, the color will change. The coffee is made with water, but the coffee which is pervading the water in my cup will now be a contaminant or a different kind of spoiling or impurity in a bowl of water. Every experience is unborn. And its appearance does not mark or pervert or contaminate the space within which it emerges. It's not emerging from space to become something else. It is how space shows itself. This is very, very important. In order to get clearer about this, I recommend you go and look again and again at the Heart Sutra and apply the Heart Sutra to every experience in your own life. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is not other than form. That's like saying the wave is the ocean. The ocean is not different from the wave. The form or your thoughts or the house you live in, these are forms of emptiness. This is not easy to see because we have spent many, many years committed to the idea of substantial existence. I am a real person. I'm me. I know I'm me. I'm not you. I'm me. And I can tell you about the pattern of my life, which will show you that I am not you. But if I tell you my history, which is not your history, this is an account of vanished moments. I grew up in Glasgow. The Glasgow I grew up in does not exist. The James who was growing up in Glasgow cannot be found. So as I sorry, as I tell you about myself, and it starts to feel very real for me because I believe these memories are a true account of what happened. I'm trying to convince you to believe what I believe, but it's only a belief. My Glasgow is not the same Glasgow shared by all the other million people who live there. So this is very important. Normally, I'm thinking there is a Jamesness inside me which expresses itself in James's life. But when we try to loosen ourselves from this consolidating belief, and we attend to our life, we find it was moment by moment by moment by moment. Each moment has a specificity, a particular patterning. So, in a sense, I am not something core essence inside me. I am the patterning of my participation. So when I was small, and I would get into some trouble or difficulty, and my mother would say, Jimmy, I told you not to. I thought, but I had to. The other boys were doing it. We were all climbing the tree. Yeah, they knew how to climb the tree. Now you're stuck up the tree. My life unfolded in interaction with many factors in the environment. It's not that I was wandering around with some fixed belief I have to climb every tree I see, but due to causes and conditions on that particular day, intoxicated by being with these other children, I was climbing a tree which was really beyond my capacity. Oh, the more you reflect on your life in this way, you can see, oh, I am moments emerging in a conversation between my potential and the potential of the environment. I am not a thing. So you could link that back to the practice of Vajrasattva. If I was a thing, a knowable thing, a thing that some people called a bad boy, how would I wash the badness out of the boy? Because I'm a bad boy. And we know that when children are accused of being bad or trouble, they often spend their whole life going in prison, lying, cheating, stealing, because being bad is the launch pad for the moments of their existence. But the behavior that would upset my mother would make my friends laugh. It's just ideas, interpretations. And these interpretations do not mark the basic open potential of space. This is fundamental because this is the basis of liberation or enlightenment. As in the traditional example, if you have a piece of coal, you can wash it every day for a year, but it won't become white because it is coal. We have Buddha nature. This Buddha nature can be covered in all kinds of shit, but it's not touched by this shit. It's on the surface. Whether people are very bad, their Buddha nature is not spoiled. Whether you practice being a very good, kind, helpful person, your Buddha nature is not improved. We find this in the text of our small practice on Padmasambhava. Whatever has happened, it is simply patternings of experience. Now, this is not to deny karma. Karma operates on the basis that I want to do this, or I'm going to steal this, or I'm going to help this person. And on the basis of having done this good action or this negative action, this creates a potential for happy outcomes or sad outcomes at a later time. This is the patterning of experience. Moments of experience arise and then pass. No moment endures, always vanishing, like the reflections in the mirror of a car. Reflection after reflection after reflection, and the mirror remains open. The absolute is not touched by the relative, although it is not other than the relative. The reflection is in the mirror, very intimate. A thought arises in your mind, maybe remembering something you did and you're not happy about it. Why did I do that? Oh, I'm so stupid. And the intensity of the emotion seems to define you. Oh, why did I? Oh. Then that moment goes. It dissolves. Something else arises. It was the truth of a pattern of your participation, not the truth of some essential core of yourself. How I participated was not good. It hurt someone else. So then I can do the Dodjemba practice and wash that out. Because it's a pattern which sticks to me a bit, but it does not define anything essential about me. Because as he says, Mahamudra, which is my own mind as it is, the true nature of my mind, is inherently unborn. Nothing can be born from the unborn. When you look in the mirror, you see the reflection. Oh, that's me. Oh, I didn't realize something strange on my face. But you can't catch the reflection. The reflection is in the mirror. The mirror is unborn. That's why it exists as a hospitable welcome. It's open. It can show anything at all. And what arises in it is also unborn. So, in the history of our life, maybe bad things have been done to us. Someone has used us as an object, a sexual object, an object for mockery or insult. That has passed. There seems to be a trace. I seem to be damaged by it. What is damaged? If I believe that the patterning of my experience expresses something essential about me, then this inner integrity of my ego self, I am who I am, can indeed be traumatized and broken by the actions of others. But when I look, as we go through this text, when I look, I see, oh, my mind is not a thing. It is pure like space. Atom bombs can explode in space. Little radioactive particles can hang in the air. But space itself is not touched. The major difference between Buddhism or Dharma and all the other interpretations of the meaning of life that we find is the fundamental clarity regarding the emptiness or the unbornness of all experience. Now, all that I have said is some gesture towards you, some attempt to loosen up some of your assumptions and see a new possibility. However, he now goes on to say how it is, that is to say, the absolute truth of your mind, your profound nature, the ground of your being, it cannot be indicated. And so the pathways of conventional terms is cut. This is essential to see. Wisdom is to see the silence of the inexpressible truth. The teachings are gestures of compassion or relationality or contact. When Siddhartha awakened in Gaya, sitting under the Bodhi tree, he decided he wouldn't speak. No one will understand. But all the gods started to come and offer him flowers and songs and said, please teach, please explain. And he thought, but if I explain something, it will just get mixed up with these ideas they already have. So this is our issue here. The pathway of conventional terms cannot reach the absolute. You might have experienced sometimes being up in the mountains and you see a little path and you follow it, maybe the path of some goats. Think, oh, it's a path, it must be going somewhere. You walk for a kilometer and then, oh, the path stops, it vanishes. Maybe this is where the goats get the rainbow body. Now I'm here on this hillside with no path. Where am I? I have to look at the hill. Before I was walking on the path, looking at the path, I didn't see the hill. The hill was there. The path is traversing the hill. When the path stops, oh, hello, hill. So this is what he's saying. There are many, many Dharma paths. You must do your Nundro. You must complete the Yidam practice. You should go on pilgrimage in India. These are paths. The benefit of the path is when the path stops. But if I am addicted to path following, the end of the path is confusion for me. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. Where are you? So it's very important to see we do follow Dharma paths. You get this instruction, this teaching, hopefully this clarification. But it's so important not to use it to reassure the ego self. Oh, now I know what to do. Now I understand what it is. This is more like a massage to loosen us up. Like when we do this, the 3R, we release our involvement in patterning in order to function in the world, to be with others. We employ these relative truth patternings, but we find the truth of ourselves by being with ourselves. Here I am. How am I? This is arising. This seems to be me. Now it's gone. How am I? Who am I? Some answer arises and it's gone. Oh, I am the site or the place where many possibilities arise. So many possibilities arise, and none of them is the truth of me. Because I am the potential, not the arising. And yet, in this specific moment, this arising or this patterning is me. So as I'm talking, I get a bit thirsty and I drink quite a lot. I'm not always thirsty. It's a moment which arises, and then I'm fortunate, I have tea here, so I take a sip of tea. This is my actual lived experience, but it doesn't define me. I am undefinable, yet participative in a multiplicity of ways. So here next he says, naturally inexpressible, Mahamudra, or our own mind, is essentially free of association with phenomena. So because of my presence or awareness, thirst is revealed. I see the tea. I drink some tea. I put the tea down. The thirst vanishes. These are movements within the mirror of the mind. The mirror is free of association with the reflection, because if this current reflection in the mirror was getting into the mirror, it wouldn't be able to show anything else. It would be like a painting. So I am thirsty, then I take a drink, and I'm not thirsty. This is a kind of dreamlike movement of patterns which don't provide an essential definition of self, but are a way of being in the world with others. I have thirst, I drink the tea. I see you looking sad, and I say, oh, how are you doing? As these patterns meet each other, there is a pulsation of potentially a full rebirth into a new situation. But if I am in a hurry, or if I don't like you, and I see you looking sad, nothing to do with me. I'm not touched. Because I am full of the importance of my life, so I'm in a hurry, and my opinion about you, which means I don't want to help you, the limit of my kindness or compassion or participation is whether I have merged with thoughts and taken them to be definitive of me, or whether I have focused on connectivity with you. The more full I am of me, the less space there is for you. Emptiness is availability. If the cup is empty, it's available. You can put water, orange juice, tea in it. But as soon as you put orange juice in the cup, you shouldn't add tea. The content of the cup becomes the kind of definer of the function of the cup. So when you look at yourself and your tendencies, that you can be irritable or very demanding, however, whatever pattern arises, although, when you go, although these patterns are essentially empty, if I identify with them and believe in them, they will fill the space of my potential and get in the way of my connecting with you. It's not about getting rid of the content of the mind. You can't do that because it's constantly filling with this potential. The question is, do I have a choice not to fall into my habitual formations? That is to say, if my wish is connectivity, then it's helpful for me to arise in a way that will make contact with you. But if my wish is to assert myself, this is me, this is how I am, and I'm a special person, and I don't want to compromise my authenticity by getting caught up in your nonsense, then there's a lot of limitation in not wanting to be for you because I am determined to be for myself. I become the caretaker, the concierge of the edifice of my ego self. And I don't want to compromise it. This is a very lonely state to be. My primary love object is myself. But when I relax out of this self-fixation and open myself to how you are, then I can arise to meet you in how you are, not from my agenda. So, as he said at the beginning, the absolute Mahamudra, which is how the ground abides. My ground, the basis of myself, the presence of Kuntuzangpo in me, just abiding in openness. Within this openness, patterns of responsivity arise. So this is the middle way. I'm being in the world with the other as a dynamic, contactful co-emergence. Because I see that phenomena are patterns which arise and dissolve. If you like, the object is empty of self or inherent existence, and the subject is open and empty and free of inherent existence. I am a potential, and you are a potential. If I define you, I become an agent of darkness, which projects onto you an identity which is non-inherent. So what he's saying is, I am not who I think I am, and you are not who I think you are. However, moment by moment, thoughts of how I am and thoughts of how you are will arise and pass. So then he says, beyond designation, examination, and illustrative examples, evading all examples, its non-dwelling offers nothing for the intellect. So you could say I'm going in the opposite direction from Virupa because I'm saying lots of words and giving you lots of examples. It says it evades all examples. This is the absolute as it is. But we are full of patterns of habit formations. The task of the Mahamudra is to release us from the false identification with patterns as if they expressed the definitive formation of ourself. So when he says this Mahamudra offers nothing for the intellect, no, normally our intellect is recruited in the task of constructing our sense of self and manifesting it in the world to ensure our market share. But the intellect can also be used for deconstruction. In the famous text, the Dhammapada, the Buddha says, the maker of this house, the builder of this house is finished. The roof and the beams are falling. I will build no more houses. So this is what we can see. I make my own obscuration. The house I build is constructed out of assumptions and definitions. My beliefs are my beliefs because I believe them. Oh, I do this. I don't have to believe it. I believe it. We see this with these many conflict situations in the world. These are essentially battles of ideas. The trees in the rainforest are a source of money for me, for my happy future. And another person from an indigenous background thinks the trees of the forest are my home. It is a tragedy to cut down the trees. In the conflict between the gangs who come to destroy the forest and those who live in the forest is a conflict of ideas, of interpretation. In the Middle East, there are hillsides, valleys. Who do they belong to? People have different ideas. Some people have a victorious, happy idea. This is our land. We are the bosses. Go away. Others have a sad idea. This was our land. We've been evicted. We shouldn't be allowed to go back to our land. But it's obvious that the mind marks out the map of the land. Everything in Israel has been renamed. The hills, the rivers, the towns, they get a new name. They are born through reliance on concepts, but the concepts themselves are unborn. And so you can only prove that you are the owner of the land if you make a legal document, or you have an army with soldiers to say, come in here and we kill you. So many, many thoughts, interpretations fill our world. So to approach a Mahamudra, don't enter into judgment. Don't try to establish the truth of something within relative truth. Observe that all these constructions are simply the movement of the energy of the mind. The mind is unborn, and its creations are unborn. We think that our intellect gives rise to clarity about how this material world is. But again and again, the texts say, we are living in a dream. Experience the world in the manner of a dream. In a dream, you most certainly have experience, but it has no substance to it or behind it. So he's saying that the intellect, which is trying to construct and build and find a solution to something, has no access to Mahamudra. The wonderful doctors and engineers who developed the radiotherapy system, which I experienced last year, they operated on the basis of their intellect. I'm very grateful for that. The intellect can develop wonderful patterns in the world, like the modern medicine. It can also develop hellish things, like the weapons that are being used in so many countries in the world. The one thing the intellect can't do is be the vehicle by which you arrive at your own true nature. Okay, so we have a break now for an hour. See you then. Okay, so we come back to look at the text. Now we need to remember that he was singing this song later in his life. When he was younger, he was famous as a scholar and a teacher. He had a great understanding of all the path. He had a great understanding of all the stages of the path. But later he's speaking now from this point of view of Mahamudra. And it's as if he has turned his back on the Lamrim, the stages of the path approach, and he's going directly for the immediacy of awakening. And as if there is in some way a contradiction between the slow process of learning and then the seeming magic of some spontaneous insight. You get the same kind of structure in the story of Rumi. Rumi, this Turkish Sufi teacher, where he was a famous scholar with many students, and then he met his master, his guru, Shams, and he stopped his teaching and stayed in this spontaneous state. But for us, it's important to have both. We are busy people who don't have so much time. We probably didn't come to Dharma in our childhood, at school. We come to it later and time is going by, but we do need to study a little bit and do the direct practice as well. Because although, as he is saying, Mahamudra, our own mind is uncaused, unborn, in order to open to this, we need to both learn some things and forget some things. We need to learn by studying presentations like this that show us the actual ground of our mind. And we also, in order to really promote that, we have to forget or let go of the identifications that we have had with our country, with our family, with our occupation, and so on. The intrinsic and the cause and effect are not in opposition. For example, many countries like Britain have a colonial past. Our people went to someone else's country and stole the land, stole the people, enslaved them, stole the wealth. And this helped us to develop our industry and our way of life. Nowadays, we like to forget that. In North America, the story of the indigenous people is not on the reading list for Donald Trump. We don't want to know that our success has been created on the basis of suffering for others. So there are two kinds of forgetting. There's forgetting the ground, and which generates the whole movement of samsara. That forgetting wasn't done by anyone, because it's from that very forgetting or unawareness that samsara comes into being. The second kind of forgetting is forgetting the bad things that we did and the fabrication of a new biography, a new identity. And then thirdly, we have a kind of restorative forgetting, by which we forget or loosen our identification with so many of the messages that were formative in our childhood and education. When we do the practice, it's helpful to forget that you are male or female, that you live in a particular country, that you worked for many years, for example, as a teacher or in a shop. These memories structure the delusion of our personal identity. By loosening our ties with these beliefs, we open a space in which we can start to directly see how it is. This true nature or true state is not a construct. So for us on the path, we need to remember the basic teachings on impermanence, dependent origination, because these teachings antidote our tendency to grasp on to self and other as if they had inherent existence. So on a relative level, we're clearing the space within which the revelation of intrinsic space can arise. We will spiral around this point again and again in the text. He says, Mahamudra, which is your own mind, is neither eternal nor extinguished. It's not something which is always there as something, nor does it vanish into nothing at all. It is neither appearance nor emptiness. Appearances usually seem to be the opposite of emptiness. If you plan to park your car in an empty space, and by the time you get there, someone else has parked their car, it looks like a real difference between emptiness and appearance. What he's pointing out is that when you have these oppositional categories, like something appearing and emptiness, if it's this, then it can't be that. If it's that, then it can't be this. So when we read this again, we need to call to mind the teaching of the Heart Sutra. It's not either or. It's both and. So there is both appearance and emptiness. Every appearance is empty of inherent existence. It's both emptiness and appearance, because although this basic ground is empty, this doesn't mean nothing appears. It's neither substantial nor insubstantial. We look again at polarities in the same way. They are not mutually exclusive. They are actually born together. Whatever appears cannot be established as existing in truth. For example, British India. So when we had Victoria, the Empress of India, then this way of thinking that the British had was that India is ours. And we're not going to give these Indians freedom because it's our country. So we see here, this is a delusion. This is making a temporary structuring of power and economic activity, making it into something that seems to be truly existing. The British are saying, this is our possession. We belong here. We're in charge. And then particularly in the early 20th century, the freedom movement, Quit India campaign, Indians saying, why are you here? This is India. You're not Indian. You don't even want to live with Indians. You live in a cantonment separated from Indian culture. You hardly speak our language. Go away. So there we see India for the Indians. That's a belief. India belongs to the British. That's another idea. Power plus idea equals the ability to define the situation. Oh, if you are interested in history, you will see the heart of the Dharma embedded there. The same with economics. The same with geography. Now the glaciers in the Alps are melting, and in the Himalayas. So the map showing the extent of the glacier has to be redrawn. In Antarctica, huge masses of ice are cracking off and floating to the south, to the north. What we say is the case is only a temporary patterning. Oh. Again, I have a body, it's quite substantial. That is to say, the parts seem to cooperate, but now they don't cooperate so well. I get more problems, and the insubstantial nature of my body becomes obvious. The different parts of the body are energetic manifestations which can support each other or act against each other. When we want to do as we like, we imagine we are immortal and truly substantial. Oh, I would love a glass of red wine, or maybe 2 or 3. Oh, when I make this, when this thought arises for me, I have a conversation with my tongue. I remember a nice Rioja. The one person I don't talk to is Mr. Liver. Mr. Liver says, for God's sake, leave me alone. It's the weekend, everyone's having a rest, but you pour this fucking wine into me and now I'm working and working. So if we see this, samsara means we are positioned in a particular identity which cannot see the whole. So he's saying, be very careful about adopting limited positions and imagine that they can tell the truth. And then, as if to underline this point in red ink, he says, and it is not unborn. No, in the first paragraph, he said it's inherently unborn. And now he says it's not unborn. He's saying you have terrible tendencies. Don't believe what I say. That will be building a palace of concepts. Hear what I say and apply it so you get a direct experience, which is not resting on what you read, what you heard, what you think should be the case. He says it is not the innate truth of phenomena. Later on, he may well say that it is. He's saying that all of these words, they are like a massage. They should be moving you around. If the teachings make you more solid, more dogmatic, then it's truly misunderstood. Saying it's not something you can know because it's how you are. It's like if you were with a small child, maybe 18 months, 2 years, and they're running around, and you call their name, they often don't listen because they realize, oh, you call me this name, but I'm just running. I'm not Maria, your daughter. I'm runner. Although this is annoying for the parents, it's very deep. The name you stick on me is stuck on me. Like a kind of note, the post-it note, the ones with the sticky edge. I am not my name. I am not who you think I am. But after some time, you end up believing that you are your name. The artificial has become normal. So this is what he's pointing to. Don't solidify. And he's saying it's not a transcendence of the intellect. Whatever you say about Mahamudra or about your own true nature will not be true. I mean, for us, pretty well, all of us living in a capitalist, consumerist, commodity-directed economy, this is crazy. If Buddhism becomes more popular, you will be able to go on Amazon and buy some emptiness. Anything can be turned into a commodity because commodification is a mental process of saying this is an object which I know, which I define, and which I can move about in relation to other entities. And he says, neither is not nor is, it cannot be described by the intellect. As we looked before, is and is not look oppositional. They're back to back. Either it is or it isn't. They look mutually exclusive. Like high and low, like hot and cold. But in fact, these seeming polarities are born together. Something is hot in relation to the notion of cold. Something is high in relation to the notion of something being low. They are born together. The intellect finds this very difficult to cope with. But what is it? Tell me what it is. How is it? If it's this, it's not that. When I was small, I had a lot of problems learning to read. Nowadays, they would say, oh, you have dyslexia. Then the teacher was more straightforward. They just said, you're stupid. This is a B and this is a D. The B is looking in one direction and the D is looking in the other direction. Don't put a D where it should be B. Don't put a B where it should be D. Nobody said, oh, this is a mark on paper, which conventionally we call B, and you need to use it because this is the domain of conventional experience. I would have to write these things out, and the teacher would come around and hit me on the fingers with their ruler. Because to the teacher, it was obvious, this is B, this is D, but it was not obvious to me. There we see dogma or truth or definition plus power equals the right to define something. The teacher would say, it is this, don't do the other one, do this one, this is B. So that's what he's pointing to here. It's not, is not, nor is it is. The clear definition that comes from the intellect creates false categories and then feels very proud that it understands the truth. Oh, because we can't describe it in this way, it is not connected with any dualistic phenomena. Everything you see is the work of your mind. A bird, a plane, a dog, all of these are your mind. You say dog, but that just floats in the air. What happens is we see the dog and immediately our associations start to fill in the identity of the dog. So for one person, it looks so cute. And for someone else, it's just another street shitter. As you walk along the pavement, there's always some dog poop waiting for your shoe. This is your mind. You think you're seeing the real object out there, that you experience the object, but actually you experience the experience, which is the experience mediated through your particular location. For people who don't like dogs and who certainly don't like dog shit, the dogs are a nuisance. There is no self-existing dog with defined qualities. If this is not clear for you, then please take some time when you're on your own to look at the objects you have in your house, in the kitchen, your bedroom, and see, is this self-existing? This is my table. It's there. This table has legs. The legs are joined to the top. The table was made. But when the pieces of wood are put together, there is a critical moment where diverse bits of paper wood become a table. So if you investigate this for yourself, you see I am implicated in everything which occurs for me. I'm not just one small person wandering about in a world of stuff, but the stuffness of the world occurs for me as I experience it. There is nothing outside the mind. There is nothing untouched by your mind. This is why the texts say that liberation is in the palm of your hand. Your beliefs, your ideas, your reactions, your liking and not liking, all of this is the way the patterning of your mind responds to the patterning of the world. So this is something that is very important to investigate. I believe in self-existing objects. There are real things out there. Okay, what things? So once you start to describe what it is you encounter, your description or your experience cannot be separated from the concepts that you're using to apprehend the object. You are not a sad, lonely, lost person wandering in samsara. You are the dreamer of the dream of this world. And if you wake up, the dream dissolves. But if you keep looking into the dream to find the truth, it's very difficult to wake up. Oh. This liking and not liking, which is our basic orientation towards phenomena, This egoic attitude has no relation to the truth of your own mind, which, he says, always abides in evenness. Oh, in the text, they often say, if you go to a land of gold where everything is gold, all you will find is gold. Oh, if you believe in a world of solid, real phenomena, everywhere you go, that's what you find. But if you start to see that there are many composite forms in the world, then when you look at the building, you attend to the bricks. Building, or this house, is a way of naming a pile of bricks. There is no houseness to the house. If the local government decides to build new streets, they'll knock your house down. And in the Theravadan teachings, they say there is no such thing as a person. There's only these 5 skandhas, these 5 factors operating together. These are not things that we believe in order to become Buddhists. This is how it actually is. So this is the tension between a belief which aligns itself with a seeming already established truth and analysis which really sees how this has been generated. So, as with the example earlier about the ocean and the wave, oh, it's all just the sea. All the waves are just water. If you like, you can become very interested in the patterns of waves, but these are just patterns of water. How could one wave be better than another intrinsically? Because it's just water. Now, if you're a surfer, for sure, some waves are better for your purpose than others. But it's just water. So it's the same way. With the clarity of Mahamudra, we see everything is formations of emptiness. They are empty. It is the movement of my own mind which attributes significance, values to some and not to others. Well, this is the central insight of Buddhism. This is why they say meditation is better than going on a management course. On a management course, you learn how to manage people and product supply and accounts and so on. You are making patterns. But with meditation, we see, oh, everything is unborn, and yet it shows. I know a lot about investigating how it shows, but I don't know so much about emptiness. So at first, our practice is always oriented towards awakening to the unborn ground. That doesn't mean that we believe, oh, it's all just emptiness. But it's as if you went to some body worker and they looked at your spine and they said, you're leaning to the left. And they got you to lean over to the other side. Then you can come back to the midline. So it's not that emptiness is better than appearance, but rather that if you don't see and really get the feel of emptiness, you won't be able to see what phenomena are. Then he's saying, although the mind, its essence, descriptions, and functions are explained, we can say a lot about everything. This is our human capacity. And in the Buddhist lineages, there are many different approaches to describing the mind. He says, this is like explaining the imagined sharpness or bluntness of the imagined horns on a hare. The horns on a hare are one of the 12 examples for showing the illusory nature of phenomena. The imagine a hare, we imagine the horns, and then we can think, are they sharp or are they not? If you ever watch Star Trek, then you know what a Klingon looks like. Klingon, it's one of the creatures from another planet. When you look and think, oh, that's a Klingon, actually it's an actor with a lot of makeup. But you can think about creatures that don't exist. When you're at school, you have to write essays on the characters in novels and plays. What are the reasons for Hamlet's torment? That's the horns on a hare. But if you want to pass the exam, you have to write a lot about these particular horns. So he says the characteristics of all phenomena do not differ from this. It means they are attributional. Who is entitled to anything? In politics, especially in war, there's a lot of attribution. These are stories which result in the death of many people. When the early research was being done on the effects of smoking on human health, whatever the researchers showed, the tobacco companies employed some perhaps not so ethical doctors to provide some contrary opinion. Cigarettes will make you look sophisticated, or they will kill you. What is the real phenomena? So again and again, we have to examine for ourselves, what are the beliefs that I have? In the 19th century, the British were on one of their familiar military campaigns in West Africa, and they went to the independent kingdom of Benin and stole many of these beautiful Benin bronzes made of heads and so on. Some of them came back to Britain into the British Museum, which is now kindly loaning them back to the country in West Africa for 5 years. It's ours. It belongs to the museum, but we'll lend it to you. This is not some esoteric Buddhist teaching. You will see the truth of it everywhere you go. Now that Russia is looking a bit more dangerous, we find that formerly neutral countries think, oh, joining NATO is a good idea. That is to say, the central point here is don't separate your mind, your thoughts, your feelings from the object. Every object, everything out there that you experience is mediated for you through your mental operations. Well, then he continues, in this way, all these relative truth phenomena which are taken to appear and exist have no individual essence and are merely names, symbols, and signs. And of course, because names and symbols and signs are applied onto what is perceived, they are clearly not intrinsic in the object. And the reason that we can apply such different identifications to phenomena is because they have no individual essence. So when you look at the map of the Middle East and what is Syria and Iraq and the boundaries, they're all very straight lines. And these lines were drawn by Western powers, particularly Britain and France, at the end of the First World War with the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. So we say this is Syria. And if everybody nods their heads, this new construct becomes Syria. Same at the end of the Second World War in Europe. There was all kinds of evaluation of how the new territory should be divided up. So this is the new boundary of Poland. And then the next step is, this is Poland. But it had a different shape before. No, the big boys have decided this is Poland. Don't question the existence of this place. But it's only a conventional name. This is what is happening with Israel and Palestine. Because there is no essence, contestation, conflict, and war are readily available. So he says, such names and inferred meanings establish no true difference between them. In Scotland, we have a political party dedicated to independence. Well, they say Scotland is Scotland. It's just Scotland. Therefore, why are we under the power of England? And other parties say, no, this is the United Kingdom. We're all in it together. Who gets to name it is the one with power. Innately this, it's just this. From the very beginning, there is nothing to seek elsewhere. This here means the immediacy of your experience in this moment. I say I live in West London. I can go to East London. I know how to go to East London. I go from here to there. Because here, understood conceptually, can be separated from there. But when you live through your senses, it all comes at once. Concepts are chopping up the world and allocating differential value. But the whole, the immediacy of this moment, here and now, arises all at once. And any division is an artificial imposition. This is complete. It's just this. I'm sitting in my chair, in my room with lots of papers, looking at a screen. Here and now, this is it. It's not the whole truth forever, but immediately in its directness, in its non-interpreted nature, it just is. The whole is just this. I can only grasp it through concepts. I live it through non-dual awareness. Non-dual awareness doesn't divide anything or impose any limits or compare and contrast. But dualistic consciousness is applying names, believing that the names indicate some true essential difference between phenomena. Then I can compare West London to East London. And I can think, oh, maybe I should move there. Because I'm looking at the qualities here and the qualities there. I believe that this is true. I think I'm not stupid. I know how it is. But what I know is what I think it is. In terms of the immediacy or the Mahamudra, there is nothing to seek elsewhere. You cannot go from here to there, because here, if it's the actual here and now, is this infinite moment without any limit or boundary. And each moment is like this. That's why when the Buddha got enlightened, he said, what shall I say? What shall I say? In order to speak, in order to give these people something, I will corrupt the gift in the moment of giving. Because when the gift is offered mediated through concepts, it is not the original moment. That's why he says there's nothing to gain elsewhere. There is no elsewhere. Now, this may sound completely stupid. We hear that people live in America. For me, America is an idea. I haven't been there. I could get books on American history, American geography, and so on. I could build up some image of America. But all of this work wouldn't take me to America because it would just be my idea of America. Even if I go to America, I find, oh, America's already divided up. If I go to Trump Towers and say, please, let me live here in the penthouse, There is nothing to seek elsewhere. I belong here. They say, we don't know you. What are you doing? Go away. That is to say, interaction in samsara is always false. We transform or change, or we could even say contaminate everything we engage with because we apprehend it through a very clumsy medium. So here he's been talking about the object side, what we experience around us. And that can apply also to our body, which in a sense is an object for our mind. We can think about our feet and our hands and so on. But now he turns the attention onto the mind. He says, the mind is itself an empty naming. Something occurs and we say, oh, that's my mind. I might say, oh, my mind is getting tired. I'm getting old. I forget things. But what am I talking about? Whether the memories that I want to arise will arise when I want them. But moment by moment, many thoughts, feelings, memories are arising in the mind. When we start to practice meditation, we become aware that, whoa, I'm not the boss here. I'm not the master of my mind. All kinds of weird things are arising. Although I say it's my mind, I don't make my thoughts. I don't make my feelings. They arrive. So what am I pointing to when I say my mind? Some thoughts, feelings, plans for tomorrow, and so on. Oh, tomorrow I need to go to the shops in the morning. That's what I'm going to do. The thought has already dissolved. I have to remember the thought that I have to go to the shops tomorrow. But the thoughts and feelings are arising, dissolving, arising, dissolving, arising, dissolving. There is no substantial, reliable, predictable content that the word mind will point to. Beyond conceptualizing, it is Mahamudra. Mahamudra is simply, it is, as it is. And when we conceptualize, we say something about. We're speaking about our idea of what something is, but the mind itself just is, as it is. This is Mahamudra. If you think you can catch it, you're deluding yourself. Without effort, without trying to catch it, it's always here. Oh, it says, thus it resembles the nature of space, which has always been just an empty name. So we use words like space as if we knew what we were talking about. I might say, oh, there's not much space in this room. I have too much stuff. I'm talking then about the space between things. And if I look at the difference between a cupboard and a bookshelf, I could measure that and say, oh, we have 2 cubic meters of space available. Then it appears that, oh, yes, I can measure space. But the space which is out there, the space within which the wind blows and the clouds move, does it have a top or a bottom, a right side, a left side? Look for it. It's not an entity. The pseudo entity of space that I was measuring in my room was the space between 2 phenomena, the bookshelf and the cupboard. So this is a very important point here. He's saying, although we use language to refer to something or someone, actually no referent can be found. So if I say, I love you, who is it I love? Is it my idea of you or how you are? Oh, do you really have to spend so much time on the phone talking to your mother? I find it quite annoying. I thought we were going to go out this evening. Oh, who is the one I love? Oh, darling, I love you even when you're annoying. This may not be true. When you're annoying, you're annoying. But when I say I find you annoying and I'm looking at you, who is the one that I see? Because you've just been talking with your mum. You're full of the problems your mum has. She's getting old. Life is difficult. You reply, listen, I'm talking with my mother. She's not well. What am I supposed to do? I've got you squeezing me on one side, her squeezing on another. You don't understand my life. It's like that. Who is the referent? Who is the one that my speech is going to and pinning a real definition and truth onto? Oh, you must try this cake. It's delicious. I have diabetes. Why do you always forget? No, the cake's good for you, but shut up about it. I can't eat it. If you just see yourself as you are and observe other people as they are, you realize that we miss each other like ships passing on a dark night. There is nothing which can be caught and found. We have the saying, a drowning man will clutch at straws. And this is the situation of samsara. We're clutching at straws. We're grasping onto things which cannot sustain us or really support us. But it's very painful to awaken to that. The truth of the ungraspability, the impermanence of phenomena has been there, revealed moment after moment after moment, but we don't want to believe it. No, in general Dharma teachings, they say you have to see the absence of inherent existence in both persons, people, and in all phenomena. So he says, this Mahamudra, which is your truth, the heart of your mind, it is unborn through its very essence. It is not an entity with characteristics. Its very essence is emptiness, openness, ungraspability, unbornness. My mind is not a thing. I am not a thing. You are not a thing. I haven't been born as something. I haven't come into separated existence. I'm moving as a pattern among patterns. This mind, this unchanging ground of all my experience is not an entity with characteristics. In duality, characteristics are how we know things. So we might say to our friend, listen, if you're going to the shops, don't buy these apples again. They're really dry. They're not good. That's a helpful suggestion. Oh, I haven't tried them yet. I won't get them again. Some potatoes are better for baking than others. Some are good for frying. Some are good for mashed potatoes. We have so many details, so much information about products. Say, the mind is not like that. The unchanging ground of all experience is not an entity. It's not a thing that has qualities. Or we could express this in another way. There are no nouns. And therefore, adjectives don't refer to anything. When I say, oh, I went to the cinema, this new film is amazing, as we have looked many times before, this is an incomplete sentence. I went to the cinema, I saw the new film. It is wonderful for me, maybe not for you. Oh, come on, you really should see it. It's good. This is what we say. This is a lie. If I take an apple and cut it in half and give you half, and I eat half and you eat half, and we're crunching together, I cannot know how it tastes for you. If I say, oh, it's really sweet, what do you think? And you say, yes, it's sweet. Does that mean that our experience of sweetness is the same? We rely on concepts to create the illusion of definable shared experience. But only by relaxing out of reliance on this conceptual identification can we come to the direct being with, face to face, of our own unborn nature. Okay, so we take a break now, maybe 25 minutes, and come back on the hour. Good, have a break. You. Okay. So now we continue. The next line is all pervasive like space. It does not change or move away. Because space is open and without any content, it doesn't move, but it becomes the site where there is movement, like the wind. When it says all pervasive, it's not like something is going out to something else. It's not moving. It means better, maybe we should say omnipresent. It's always already there, and the movement is within it. When you go out for a walk and you look to one side and then another side, and you look down at what's growing and up at the sky, each of these moments is like a full circle. It's complete presentation. All experience occurs in the mind. Then he says, it is always completely empty. So when you look at a mirror in your house, you see your own reflection and bits of the room that's behind you. Is the mirror empty? No, because it has reflections in it. And what is the status of these reflections? They are empty of inherent existence. They are not substantial. They are not existent entities. Nothing does not contradict nothing. The as it were, the nothing of the mirror and the something nothing of the reflection are both nothing. When a thought arises in your mind, you can't catch it. The thought is already gone. If you have a kind of dualistic intention, then this will evoke other thoughts going in the same, what shall we say, direction. Now, what was I saying? So it's as if I have to look back. Oh, I was saying something. Now, what was it? How will I catch that thought? You can't. It's gone. Some simulacrum, something similar will arise. And this is very interesting for us. Because if we take the similar to be the same, oh, that's it. Yes, now I remember. It is as if the same vanished thought has come back to us. And then we have the delusion of the continuity of the knower and the known. I'm thinking about the same thing. But is that true? If I eat your apple and I say, oh, sorry, have one of mine. Now you're eating an apple. I gave it to you, so it's your apple. But it's not your apple in the way that it was your apple that I ate. This is the mind. There's no end to the funny games of the mind. No matter what strange patterns of thoughts, feelings, delusions, nightmares, daydreams, and so on arise, they cannot alter this openness. The empty reflection arising in the mirror doesn't displace another reflection. It doesn't push out the previous reflection. So, with the ancient Greek early scientist Archimedes. He gets in his bath, and the water goes over the top. And he thinks, why does this happen? And he sees my body takes up some space, if you like, some dimension. And this expels an equal shape of water. Something displaces something. But nothing can't displace nothing. So this again this is not philosophy, this is not theory. This is an invitation for us to really look at our assumption that entities exist in themselves. For example, when I was, I don't know, maybe 14, I did my homework in my small bedroom. I had a table. Near our house, we had a big, wild kind of field. And my mother said to me, James, come on, we have to take the table into the field. And we took the table, carried it down and out along the little road and into the field. And she said, well, we can just leave it here. I said, well, why? What's happened? This is my table. Oh, and then she said, we'll turn it upside down. And underneath there were many, many hundreds of little holes. The top had been painted, so we didn't see that there were many woodworm that had made a wonderful house inside the table. Oh, my notion that this is a table and these little insects' notion this is our house, they're both applied to the same arena. Is it really a table or really a house? It depends who you ask. So that's what he's meaning by everything is completely empty. There are patterns of movement and engagement, but they don't arrive anywhere because everything in our world is in a process of transformation. So when we read sentences like, it is always completely empty, it means it is empty of inherent existence, and therefore it doesn't contradict anything else. It was a table, it was also the home for insects. If we introduce the example of power, we could have tried to kill the insects so that we kept the table. It was neither truly a table nor an insect house. It was a potential, which due to causes and conditions manifests as different functions. So this is what he's saying. Emptiness has no contradiction with anything else. This Buddhist emptiness can be difficult to have some sense of. It's not some subtle essence, some quintessence. He's saying that Mahamudra is always completely empty and is primordially without separate self-identity. Because it's empty, it doesn't resist the arising and passing of situational identities. So if we do this Guru Yoga of the white R, the sentence of this white R in front of us, we make the slow open sound of R 3 times. As the sound of the third R dissolves into silence, so the image of the white R with the rainbow colored light around it dissolves into space. We rest our presence in this open space. The mind is like space. The space around is open as space. The world doesn't end. It is the very nature of the mind to be fecund, to be always giving rise to new formations. A thought arises. It feels as if it's indicative of something being there. It's a thought that seems to be thinking about something, to be referring to something. So if we're drawn towards the thought, that sets off a chain reaction of different thoughts, one after the other. Because as soon as the thought seems to be something knowable, there will be a knower. And who is this knower? Why, it's me. And so I sit in meditation, following my thoughts here, there, and everywhere. This is very popular. So we don't want to do this. We relax, space. A thought arises like a rainbow in space. These rainbows are always in the sky. Thoughts are always in the mind. Waves are always part of the sea. By not grasping at the thought as if it was something telling me about something else, I see the thought vanishes. The more still and uninvolved I am, the more the truth of phenomena is clear. I follow the thought. In that, as soon as I follow the thought, I'm not only excuse me, validating the true existence of the thought, I'm validating the true existence of me. It's my thought. I am the knower of the thought. But if we watch, as the thought dissolves, which it always does, the constellation of emergent factors, which I take to be I, me, myself, also dissolves. The delusion of self perceived the delusion of a real object, and it becomes a delusion because we believe in it, we go into it. But if we can rest our mind in this open space and not react, then the thought vanishes. And it doesn't hook this latent sense of being an individual self into the process. In that sense, if something is happening, it's happening to me or for me. If nothing is happening, it's not happening for anyone. It is there, the thought arises and vanishes, and it leaves, and it leaves no trace. The rainbow suddenly appears and then vanishes. The rainbow hasn't been born. It's not something which has separated out from the sky and you could put in your pocket and take away with you. And the awareness that sees that is not someone. As he says, our mind itself, or Mahamudra, is primordially without separate self-identity. Now, if we meet somewhere and you say, "Oh, James," I will turn and respond to you. Who is responding? The James that responds to you is constellated or comes into formation in the moment of seeing your face and recognizing you. I am James for you in this moment. You are for James in this moment. Maybe we're in a town, neither of us know anyone around. We certainly recognize each other. I smile at you, you smile at me and say, "Oh, it's you." Our faces light up. Our eyes make contact. We weren't doing this before. This is arising. It's a pattern which is evoked and exists for a moment and then dissolves. This is the key point here. Appearances appear, but they are not established as the appearance of something. They are always the appearance of nothing. So then he says, untouched by memories, thoughts, or characteristics, it is like the water of a mirage. So in the summer, weather's warm, the road heats up, and you see water seeming to shimmer on the road ahead of you. It looks like water, but it's not water. in terms of appearance, it is water. In terms of substance, it has no substance of water. He's saying that all the many different appearances which arise in the mind, including myself, yourself, good, bad, all the possible combinations of memories, thoughts, or characteristics, this is just like a dream. We assume that the word tree is referring to something which is knowable. So if you go in the park and you see a nice big tree growing, that is a tree. But what are you referring to? The roots, the trunk, the branches, the leaves. There are so many possibilities. Every step you take walking round the tree, a new patterning of presentation is there. So tree is a term which allows us to impute certain characteristics to this form. But the form is uncatchable. We're talking about nothing. No, we're talking about the tree. Look, the tree is there. But what is being precisely referred to? You can't catch it. There is no clearly identifiable, definable essence. You see shape and color, and your own mind in response formulates or fabricates certain qualities and characteristics. Now, if you can see this about an external object, it also helps you to see that that is the case of your mind. Listen, I'm here. I exist. I'm James. These are three statements. Is there some substance there? This comes back to our primordial devil's contract. I will believe that you exist if you are willing to believe that I exist. We are co-conspirators weaving the delusion of true existence. The mother looks at the baby in her arms. My darling, but time is going to steal your baby. It's getting bigger. Now it's crawling. Now it's walking. Now it's talking. Now it doesn't stop talking. Where is my baby? The baby was a moment, a pattern in time. There was no fixed essence. It was the unfolding of the potential of the ground in that formation. So we have to look at this again and again and again. We are talking about nothing. And by talking about nothing, we talk nothing into existence as a seeming something. It's just the patterning of the movement of the mind. The waves in the ocean don't establish anything, but they do manifest as particular specific appearances. Oh, Mahamudra, how it is. He says he's unbound and unfreed. It does not waver from its unchanging presence. So we might think, oh, I'm wandering in samsara. I have a lot of problems and difficulties. I read about enlightenment and liberation. Oh, I would like that. And then we study Dharma a little bit and we see, oh, I am bound by the fetters of duality, like the chains of duality which bind a prisoner. I want to be unbound. I have to get freedom from these constraints, what is binding me. But this is just a pattern of interpretation from the very beginning. The mind itself has not been caught, it has not been bound, and so how could it be freed if it's not trapped or imprisoned? So again, there is an important point here. which has to do with our sense of personal agency. If you need to have a pee, then you need to get yourself to the toilet. Since we are small children, we learn that this is our responsibility. We have to manage our embodied existence. I am in charge of myself, or my embodied self. So in that sense, I am bound to my body. Some urine is building up in my bladder. And the pressure gives some information to the nerves that say, hey, time to go and have a pee. I have to do something. Oh, you can understand this in a two-stage process. There is a stimulus and a response. And as the agent or the owner of myself, I have to make sure I don't piss in my pants, but do it in the toilet. But actually, there is a clear movement. You have a sensation and the body is already moving. It's a very simple and straightforward, natural flow. I need to respond to this, and I do respond to it. Now, of course, when you go to school, they say the class is going to last for, 1 hour, and afterwards you can go in the playground and you can have a pee, but don't ask to go out during the class time. You have to learn to control your bladder. So this is a cultural approach. In some parts of Tibet and in China, small children, the back of their trousers is open so that when they squat down, the two parts of the cloth go up the side of their bum and they can piss and shit straight through without making a mess on their trousers. And it's not a big thing to get rid of the shit. And nowadays, everybody's picking up the shit from their dog and putting it in a plastic bag. So it's not a big business. But in our world, when you have to, you have to. You have to fit in. You have to do things in the proper way. If you want to do well in life, you have to fit in. Never mind what shape you are, make yourself the shape the world requires. So in one of the versions of the stories of Virupa, he's still the head of the monastery, but the people notice that he seems to have women in his room a lot, and that's not a great thing for a monk to do. And so the monks sound a bell and they all gather together and decide, we have to do something about this man. He is supposed to be in charge, but what's he doing with girls in his room? So he thinks, wow. Okay, I don't seem to belong here. So he takes off all his robes and he's naked and he picks some flowers and makes a very nice circle on the top of his head and goes into the town as a beggar and wanders between the wine shop and the brothel. Now, that's not a very easy way for us to live. But symbolically, in this kind of story, it's indicating if you become bound by convention and you're addicted to being seen as normal, you will never find freedom. It's not necessary to, in Virupa's way, to reject the monastery and to leave. We can do an inner renunciation. We can observe if you're working, there are certain requirements. People like you to behave in a particular way. So when you look to your mind, you can't find any fixed entity. Your mind is open and empty, and it's a potential. Many possibilities are there. So the unborn potential manifests as alignment with the rules and regulations of your work. This is an illusory presentation. As long as we are in touch with our potential, we know directly we could do all kinds of things. And if we think, okay, I choose connectivity. If I want to help people or be involved, I will do it in the manner of a dream. I remember with Namkhai Norbu, as he was in his final years before he died, he often referred to life being like a dream. In some ways, it's easier to see as we get older because we look back and all the many things we have done, they have vanished, they've dissolved. They seem so real, so important, but they're gone. So if we can catch that and stay present in that, we are with the self-liberating motion of each moment. So as he's saying, the mind itself doesn't waver from unchanging presence. I'm here as openness. I'm here as availability to connect with how it is. I'm here with responsivity according to the requirements of the situation. This unification of these three aspects of the mind, which we can call the three kayas, they mean that we can go into any shape, any formation that's required without being bound. So he says, all sentient beings are the apparition of Mahamudra. Apparition here is translating the Nirvana kaya. So Virupa, we can say, is a man born here, having this kind of life. But actually, he is an illusory appearance. We also are illusory appearances. There is no fixity to our trajectory in life. It is because we are apparitions or phantoms or dreamlike beings without a fixed essence that we can have so many experiences. Our potential is like a well-trained or a well-equipped actor. The actor comes into the theater and the director says, oh, this is the play we're doing. Okay, this is what we're doing. So we do that. The key thing here is that the actor is willing to pour themselves into the role, however it is, and enact it with optimal authenticity because they are an actor. If the actor wants to be a star, to be a prima donna, to be the number one attraction, that is going to distort their potential to take on any role. To be a star is to have an identity which precedes your performance. No, we are lucky. We are just ordinary people. We go to the supermarket, we stand in the queue, and so on. When we're in the supermarket, we do supermarket things. When we go to work, we do work things. When we have family occasions, we do family things. We are pliable. We are bendable, which is one of the qualities of the peaceful Sambhogakaya deities. They're not fixed. They're not statues. They're willing to move, to fit in, to make contact, to find the other. So when all beings are these apparitional forms, apparitions of Mahamudra, of the pure ground, we are like reflections in a mirror. So when we see other people, we see appearance, pure appearance, appearance without inherent existence. If we were lucky when we were small, we had many experiences like this. Very often when small children meet together, they say, oh, what shall we play at? And one child might say, oh, let's have horses. So they all got on their horses. Oh, faster, faster, come on, come on. And then someone gets bored and say, let's do something else. Okay. In the tantric tradition, they say this is like a fish turning in water. It's the manner of visualization according to Anu Yoga. You don't build up the sense of yourself as Padmasambhava stage by stage, but just in an instant, oh, you're Padmasambhava. Oh, you can play doctors, you can play all kinds of things. You're just in it. You're just in it because it's the imagination. This is why it's important not to take people too seriously. Whatever I think I am and say I am is not exactly true. Because these statements are summative, they seem to come to some conclusion. But this playing together is a co-emergence and it doesn't come to an end. So then he says, the essence of these apparitions, that is to say, the essence of the illusory appearance that we all show, is all-inclusive space, unborn from the very beginning. So we manifest in a particular form because of the situation. I've talked about this many times, and for some of you, this is very familiar. Say you got a promotion at work, and you're going to meet a friend in a cafe. You're excited to tell them your good news. But when you arrive, you see them looking very sad. Oh, what's the matter? My mother's in hospital and I have to go back home tomorrow. This event establishes a mood in which it's not the right time to tell your happy story. In order to be with your friend, to align yourself with them, you have to let go of this formation which was arising as you approached the cafe, so happy to tell your story, and now it dissolves. So this is something we can examine in ourselves. The notion of the Nirmanakaya is that we are manifesting for the benefit of all sentient beings. We take the Bodhisattva vow, we make this intention in this and all my future lives, I will work for the benefit of others. That is to say, I make a commitment to be available for the other. That is to say, I am willing to be interrupted in my trajectory by you. I will let go of the shaping, the patterning which was arising because I see it doesn't fit. Now, this section is talking about the ground, about the mind itself, the absolute truth. So when we really look into this and we take it into our meditation, and you can always enter through the Guru Yoga of the White R, and then you're sitting, and then you explore in that openness how thoughts come and go. I am grounded in space. I am space. I'm space within space. Because I am empty and I'm not someone, I can be many. How do you need me to be? I am for you. Some of you will remember that my teacher Sia Lama often said, the Dharmakaya, the openness of the mind, that is for you. And the form kayas, the Sambhoga Kaya and the Nirmanakaya, that is to say, the luminosity of the mind and the relational formations of our being in the world with others, these are for the other. That is to say, my shape is for you. And if you want to do this, then we'll do that. Because connectivity is vital. Earlier, we looked briefly at the nature of polarities, high and low, hot and cold, and how they look to be mutually exclusive, but they are actually co-determining. There is no high without low, hot without cold, and so on. There we see our relationality. So if we really see this, there is no me without you. There is no you without me. I am for you. This is very radical. Clearly, a lot of the very powerful people in the world are for themselves. Dictators don't seem to mind how many of their own people are killed. And they don't mind how many of the others are killed either. I don't care. Fuck you. These two go together. If I don't care about you, fuck you. Fuck off. Die. If we care, it's a whole different world. To care is to be touched and moved. To be touched is the other interrupts me. I'm taken out of myself. This is like coming out of a shell. Ooh, how nice. I'm unrestricted and I am for you. So whatever patterns arise are our brothers and sisters, our kin. They have the same ground and they are expressions of the diverse potential of the ground. Emptiness is non-reductive. Because something is empty, as he's pointed out many times already, it doesn't mean you can define it, that you know what it is. It's a potential. So you are a blossoming or a flower, a blooming of the potential of emptiness, and I also am a flowering of the potential of emptiness. So he highlights this now. He says, all the characteristics of dualistic appearances, such as happiness and sorrow, are the play of Mahamudra, the innate essence of all phenomena. Very often, in explaining these things, Tibetans use the example of how a mother who has several children will love them equally, but respond differently to them, to each of them. She will be for them as they require. So, however life is, whether family life is easy and everyone's happy, or there's a lot of sorrow and sadness and teenagers get lost in drugs or whatever, if we see that the primary truth of these phenomena, of these beings, is emptiness, then the fact that one child makes me laugh and another causes me a lot of headaches is secondary. But we don't, because we don't know how these children are going to develop. Unfortunately, my father died when I was just over 20. Given how I had been with him before, I think he'd be very surprised to see me now. On the basis of how I was as a teenager, he came to certain conclusions. But then I entered new environments, different aspects of myself were drawn forward by the potential of the situation, and my life taken many different turns. So, in a sense, this is an aesthetic issue. Through our senses, we can appreciate, receive the manifesting qualities of others, including cows, dogs, birds, everything which has mind. This patterning or shaping is a momentary display of potential. How you receive this evokes some response. And this is our life. We open more, we close down. It's a dynamic interaction. But what he's pointing to is the danger is to reify, substantialize, and enter into judgment about other people, animals, or yourself. All the diversity of experience and the flavors which run through it, like liking, not liking, feeling relaxed and at ease, tensing up, getting anxious, being worried. All of these flavors are the potential of emptiness. It's not like in a dualistic structure where you have God and the devil, and God is good and only wants good, and the devil is bad and only wants bad. The devil has a bad essence, and God has a good essence. From the point of view of Mahamudra, the only essence that is possessed by anything is the one essence which is possessed by everything. So it says, however it is, whether it's happy or sad, healthy or sick, this is the play of Mahamudra, the innate essence of all phenomena. They are inseparable from emptiness. So when I was having the radiotherapy in the hospital, when I arrived, I had to drink 2 cups of water and then go to the toilet and put this tube of cream up my bum so that I would shit, and this part of the rectum would be as empty as possible, because the radiotherapy waves were going into that area to get to the prostate. Then I had to go back to the toilet to let the shit out, and then drink 4 cups of water and be ready to go and to wait for the radiotherapy. There was quite a precise timetable because there were many people needing to go in these big, expensive machines. Oh, I would sit in the waiting room for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Then I'd go to the toilet and say, come on, little poo, come out of me. Sometimes I would have to sing a little song and move my body, sitting on the toilet, come out, time to go, goodbye. It's a very good experience to learn that not to take life too seriously. So it's like that. Some experiences are pleasant, some are unpleasant, some are painful. They are all empty. So then he says, this play itself, meaning whatever occurs in any situation, is without truth or permanence. It means don't come to any conclusion about it. You know, what I found made it difficult for me would be people saying, how is it? How are you doing? There are so many aspects going on, I couldn't sum it up. Whatever I say is talking about something that has already happened. The truth is gone. Now I feel different. And truly we see life is movement. Everything we experience is movement. There is not one single fixed stable entity. But then, very importantly, he says, although always changing, it never departs from the seal of empty how it is. If you remember some of the changes you've gone through in your life, being happy, sad, hopeful, energetic, in pain, confused, so many different flavors, always changing, always changing. Whatever occurs never departs from the seal of empty how it is. So, as we looked at the beginning, like the royal seal going on a document so that the meaning is fixed, Mahamudra seals everything in both the vastness of emptiness and the precision of how it is, as the apparitional play of emptiness. Well, this is something we have to look at ourselves. So some event happens in your life and you become aware that you're running a commentary on it. These politicians talk nonsense. These people are very rude. oh, that poor beggar sitting on the ground, life must be very hard for them. What you've got there is an accurate response to a situation, but with some unnecessary additives. In food, we don't want the manufacturers to put extra unnecessary additives. So we need to have a little bit of quality control and watch how your ego is trying to slip a fixed definition or an assumption into the flow of experience. If something seems very real and therefore very attractive or very unattractive, we have to catch it in that moment. Oh, this is the three root poisons. The somethingness of this situation is our own mind solidifying the event. And then we either go to liking and desire for more, or not liking and aversion and trying to get less. We have to catch, oh, this is mental activity. My habit formations are imputing a particular reality and meaning and value into this moment. So we're coming to the end of our time today. We've covered a lot of ground, so I hope it's useful. This is not so easy to understand. And so I would particularly like to thank our wonderful translators who keep the flow of the explanation coming, and Pedro, who keeps the frame of the recording and the electronic aspects in place. So I hope that this has been a useful day for you, and you'll be able to carry on and develop your understanding of how this manifests. And we have another 2 Saturdays where we can carry on with the text. So I certainly had a good time today. Spending time with these marvelous texts, what could be better? In fact, they are actually better than a good glass of red wine. So, pleasure to see you all, and we meet again in about a month or so. Bye for now. Bye-bye.
Thank you, James.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
James.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
organizers and translators.
Bye.
Obrigada. Bye-bye, James.
Bye.
Thank you.
Better than a glass of this wine.
Thank you. Gracias.
Yeah.